good evening and welcome to the Ombudsman program. My name is Diane Welborn. I am the Ombudsman and I'm going to be your host for this evening's program. I'm very excited tonight to bring to our viewers information about an event which took place yesterday in downtown Dayton. My office was a part of the event, and you will see on the screen beside me the sign that was made for the Ombudsman's office at the Peace Builder Walk and Village of Dayton 2017. It was quite a great event, and without any further ado, I'm going to introduce my guests so we can get to discussing it. I have with me Jerry Leggett, who is the president of the 21st Century Peace Literacy Foundation and also has a history with our Peace Museum here, which you'll hear a little bit more about later. And I also have with me Dave Williamson, who is the immediate past president of the Rotary Club of Dayton. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Good to be here.
So glad to have you here to talk about this. I'm going to begin tonight to ask Dave, as the past president of the Rotary Club of Dayton, to talk a little bit about the history of Rotary in Dayton and internationally, and to relate that also to Rotary's participation in the peace involvement. But there's a lot to say about Rotary, so I'm going to hand it over to you and let you give our viewers the brief history of the Rotary.
Thanks, Diane. Rotary is, let's talk about it internationally first, then we'll talk about Dayton. It is the largest and oldest service club organization in the world. Presently, there are approximately 1.2 million people worldwide in over 32,000 clubs and in over 200 nations all over the world. The whole thing started in Chicago in 1908, and the fellow who began it with 5 other colleagues was a man by the name of Paul Harris. And I'm proud to say he was a lawyer, just as I am. And originally the idea was about common support for people who were in like but not totally similar businesses. But then the idea became we ought to do something more than just support each other's businesses. We ought to do something for our community or communities. And so the idea of a service projects began. And in fact, the very first Rotary service project was the establishment of comfort stations in the Chicago City Hall and city courts. Well, the idea spread, and pretty soon clubs were being formed all over the country, and eventually the spirit caught hold to some good citizens here in Dayton, Ohio, and the club in Dayton was organized in 1912 and chartered in 1913, so we're over 100 years old, the Dayton Rotary Club, and proud to say we're what we call a 50-50 club. We're one of the 50 oldest clubs of those 32,000 clubs, and we're one of the 50 largest clubs with over 300 members here locally. We had Orville Wright was a member of our club, Charles Kettering was a member of our club, so we've got a pretty nice history of involved and engaged citizens in the community. And even today, we have folks who represent business, the nonprofit world, government, and the professions, all who collaborate on service to the community by devoting their time, their talent, and their treasure. And so that's kind of what brought us to the project that we were involved in yesterday.
Okay, great. Why don't you say a little bit also for the viewers about the importance that holds the Rotary clubs internationally together in the four-way test?
Well, the four-way test is and has always been sort of our not only motto, but as you say, the glue that holds every Rotarian together. And it's real simple. I mean, it comes right from the golden rule, but it's a little bit more elaborate. First, is it the truth? So any problem, any action that you have, first test that you apply to it is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And finally, will it be beneficial to all concerned? So when you meet a Rotarian will be able to recite that 4-way test for you, and it is something that we all take as our philosophy in life, into business, into personal relations. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And not always an easy test to pass.
Not always
for
an
many
easy
issues.
test to pass.
Yeah,
No,
that's right.
that's right.
Currently, well, and also for the past number of years, and you can say exactly on that. Internationally, polio eradication has been a major goal of the Rotary Club, and I'm not sure how many of our viewers know how much work has been done in polio eradication by Rotary partnering with others. Yeah.
Rotary International, partnering with the World Health Organization and a number of other international agencies, has really been involved in this effort for the past 25 years or so. And really partnering with the Gates Foundation, and Bill and Melinda Gates have been very involved, but it really was a Rotarian, and that's Bill Gates Sr., who really started the effort on behalf of the Gates family. And over the years, what seemed to be an impossible task, and that was to eradicate this disease from the face of the planet, has now come, or as we Rotarians like to say among ourselves, we're this close. We are this close. It is now down to 3 countries in the world, and that's Nigeria, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. And those names I've just rattled off, you can understand why there are certain pockets in those 3 countries that are somewhat inaccessible because of the political actions going on in those countries today. But there's a lot of people who, with their hard work effort and the financial might of 1.2 million Rotarians around the world. And by the way, I should add, Diane, for something that started as an American organization, Rotary, those 1.2 million people, the biggest single group are Americans, but the majority of them are not from the United States. So really the international Rotarians outnumber, so it really is a network of 1.2 million people all over the world.
Plus, Interact and Rotaract.
You're
You've
exactly
got
right.
the new gen.
That's
What about
exactly
them?
right. That's right.
They're watching this and they're saying, hey,
I'd like to be
the
a
new
part
gen.
of that. That's right.
That's hundreds of thousands.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And by saying that, you're talking Interact and Rotaract. Tell our viewers what age groups these clubs are.
Let's see if I can get this right, since I'm newer.
Yeah.
But Interact is basically the high school age.
Right.
Okay. By the way, there's some grade school efforts too that are amazing.
Right.
And then you move up from about 18 or so to
That's right.
30.
About 30, yeah.
30, and those are the Rotaract. They're folks that maybe have a little different lifestyle, so a little different approach to it.
Right. Very good. And I also want you to touch a little bit then on Rotary as an international organization and its emphasis on peacemaking and training people for peace leadership, which also kind of led to the collaboration with this event.
Well, Diane, Rotary International, and then that trickles down to the local clubs. There are 6 areas of focus on what Rotary emphasizes and what Rotarians are involved in. And quickly, they are fighting disease, and we talked about polio, providing clean water, sanitation and hygiene, saving mothers and children, supporting education, growing local economies, and then finally promoting peace. And that is to train train adults and young leaders, as Jerry was indicating, our Interact and Rotaract leaders, the skills of preventing and mediating conflict without resort to violence, alternative means of problem solving. And that's one of the 6 areas of focus of Rotary internationally, as well as the now Dayton Rotary Peace Committee.
Right. I just wanted to add, and then Jerry will come back to you there, that in the international projects that Rotary has conducted in building in communities and providing clean water and protecting mothers and children, internationally you can see pictures of the four-way test in various different languages that are spread all around. So that's kind of one mark that Rotary leaves. And you were going to add?
I was just going to say the Rotary Peace Fellows. I've got a card here, Reem Gunain. She's from Palestine. And she has an amazing story. Well, she became a Peace Fellow that takes place in 6 places around the world. Rotary provides quite an investment in this, and it turns out she's now leading the Rotarian Action Group for Peace.
Oh, that's great.
So it's really great to see how the program really pays dividends.
Right, it does. I'd like to turn now and talk a little bit about the Peace Museum and your involvement with that. We'll have more time for about that later, and then on to the 21st Century Peace Literacy Foundation that you're now with.
Well, I was out in the world making music on a tour, and I came through Dayton, Ohio, and I heard there's this Peace Museum, and stopped, did some music, got to know people, and said, wow, this is cool. This is really great. A city that, has actually created one of the only peace museums in the nation. Think about that. And so really it's all about, maybe 12 years old now, it's all about how does a community celebrate peace in a way you tell stories that build community. So the stories maybe are hardly the same, but if you can find stories that tell the whole spectrum from a soldier who serves her country to a peacenik who is out there doing stuff, to all these range of things. That's what it is. The archives at the museum are really the stories. And I'll talk more about that. 21st Century?
Yeah.
21st Century Peace Literacy Foundation. I was the director at the Peace Museum for several years. Had a great time. And felt the nudge to do more specifically with peace literacy education. Peace literacy is basically, the words that we use that help us think about how we can create a more peaceful world. So we're doing a lot of things to just help communities address living peaceably.
Okay, that's wonderful. Your website is being shown as you're speaking,
nice.
so
Cool.
the address for it, so that will be really very good. People can see that and jot that down and come and look and find out more about that. Okay. So you are a Rotarian, and you are working for peace and leading efforts for peace in our community, and Rotary has an emphasis on peace. So what sparked the alliance that brought us to have such a wonderful day yesterday downtown at Peace Builders?
I would say the four-way test.
Okay.
I've been engaged in peace kind of work my whole life. And what I was looking for was an approach to peacemaking that was intelligent, that used the best science and the best practices to do the best you can. We all know it's not a perfect world, but what can you do the best you can? So the four-way test for me, became a lens. It really works. And so I joined Rotary about 3 years ago and sort of brought all my passion and enthusiasm, and I found a club that was willing to go with it, to explore carefully, to explore some of these ideas. And we were working on, the foundation that I work with was working on, what if we could help communities explore what peace looks like together? And that's where Dave was president of the club, and he was kind enough to help me figure out how we might work together.
Well, and I think that's important. There was kind of, in my mind, a hallmark event, and that was Jerry was involved in bringing a gentleman by the name of Paul Chappell to town, and Paul spoke at the Rotary District Conference at the Hope Hotel here at Wright Pat. And again, we were also building up to the celebration of the 20th anniversary of the Dayton Peace Accords. Exactly. So all these things were kind of fitting in together. But Paul's message, Paul is a decorated Army captain. And
second generation.
Served in Afghanistan. And Paul's message was one of, that I learned the art and the tools of waging war. Now let's talk about the art and the tools of waging peace. And the main tools of waging peace are words, and that's what Jerry's shown here. And And so that was that kind of synergy between what the Literacy Foundation does and what we were looking to do in the Rotary Club.
Well, that's just great. Good. So it all culminated yesterday, and I'd like for you to talk a little bit, Jerry, about all the parties that took part in this. There were lots of folks there, lots of organizations there, lots of groups of different people. Tell our viewers who all was down there yesterday.
So the whole genesis of the walk was, what would it look like if we were all together? What if we saw the face of Dayton, the face of our area together? And so first of all, we saw that yesterday. I just finished with the pictures. We've got dozens of them. And what I see is the faces of Dayton, a nice wide spectrum. And this year, whereas last year it was more on Peace Heroes, this year was on organizations. And what was wonderful was you had a young boy standing beside the sign for foster care adoption. You had the Dayton Opera. You had your program, you had Sinclair, UD, you have a support group for people that are struggling with certain kinds of illnesses, the Dayton Peace Museum. So it was a whole range of different people who saw themselves as part of an effort that no one can do alone. Not one organization, not one person, not even Rotary can do it alone. We noticed that we needed each other. That was really good.
That's wonderful. And Rotary was a major sponsor of this event. Do you want to say a little bit more about that sponsorship and how that worked out for everyone?
Well, I think we were what's called the organizing sponsors. So we brought in not only some financial resources, but because we have 300 hard-charging members and a active peace committee, that brought some boots on the ground, so to speak. So since we're talking about waging peace, we can talk in those terms.
The purple shirts.
The purple shirt gang, right? So that enabled us, and we had a committee that met regularly over about a 3-4 month period of time to help organize and get this thing pulled together. And we were blessed to have a beautiful day yesterday. So with, again, approximately 400 walkers and a number of organizations in the Peace Builder Village. And it was just a great, great success in my own humble opinion.
And the club, for the first year, has a peace committee. And it was the Peace Committee that worked each month to pull this off. So.
Yeah.
I'm being told that we have a caller that has a question or comment for the program. So thank you for calling in. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, hello. You're on the air. We'd love to hear your question.
Yeah, I've been very interested in what the speakers are saying, and I'm wondering what either one of them would suggest as some first steps to get involved in the local peace movement, and be interested in hearing what they say.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that question. I will let you all take it away.
Peace Dayton, there's a Facebook page, Peace Dayton. Right now, we're getting close to International Peace Day, and so there's lots of activities going on. So go to Peace Dayton and look at that website. The most important thing I think for us to do to get involved in peace in Dayton is look at what's in front of us. So some of us, we notice in our community there's a lot of people who are struggling with the basics, especially with food security. So we look what's in front of us. The other thing I think is really important if we want to get involved in peace in Dayton is to look at what's not in front of us. So in our community, there's lots of people we've never met. There's stories about people's lives. Maybe we live in the burbs and we've never had a chance to get to know somebody who lives in a different area. Maybe they're a farmer or maybe they're living in an urban area. We should look not only what's in front of us, but let's look more and investigate more. That's just some thoughts.
Absolutely, and I think on your website, Jerry, will be the list of the organizations that were involved yesterday, and a great way to get involved in peace building in our community is to support these local organizations. And remember, sometimes when people talk about building peace, we automatically start thinking about, we're talking about bringing peace in the Middle East or somewhere in some far-off corner of the world. Well, no, listen, peace building begins in the family, and we have organizations that talk about support for abused women and children. Peace building begins in the schools when we talk about anti-bullying efforts.
Yeah,
Peace building in our community when we talk about police and community relations. And peace building on a more regional basis when we're talking about refugees and immigrants and that sort of thing. So there are a number of organizations, and as Jerry says, to that website or to our list, those are a great place to get started wherever you have your particular passion.
And especially a physical address the caller might want to take down is 208 West Monument. That's the Dayton International Peace
There
Museum.
you have it. Right?
You can see and meet and go to programs all about peace building. And these are folks that are easy to get to know. So here.
Great. That's good.
Yeah.
Very good resource, a very good answer. Thank you very much. Dave, I thank you very much for joining us on the program, taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us and to talk about Rotary and its involvement in peace. So viewers, we are going to take a very short break now, during which time you will see some pictures of the Peace Builders Walk and event, and we will be right back with you shortly, so stay with us. Thank you very much to Dave Williamson from the Rotary Club of Dayton for joining us. And now we're resuming our program about peace building and the Peace Building Village in Dayton 2017, which happened yesterday. And my guest continues to be Jerry Leggett, who's the president of the 21st Century Peace Literacy Foundation. So now I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about the organizations that made the village yesterday. And would you like to take a little bit of time to talk about which organizations came to participate? I mean, my office obviously was there because I've got my poster right here over here, and it was an excellent opportunity for outreach for us and to network with the other people in the village. Yeah. But I'd like to give you a chance to say a little bit more about that. But in the interim, there's a caller on the line.
Great.
So we're gonna take the call now. Thank you for calling our program. We'd love to hear your question, and you're on the air.
Yes, this is a wonderful program. The Peace Walk and the Peace Village is a really important initiative of which Dayton can be proud. I've taken part in it in past years, although I wasn't able to be there yesterday. I'm proud to be a Rotary ambassadorial scholar. I benefited from that in the past, and it changed my whole outlook on the world and on my own life. Well, my question is this. I'm an educator, and I'm wondering, what are the events, the educational undertakings, what are those kind of initiatives in education during the year between the yearly Peace Walk that continue this effort, that, in other words, things in which I myself might become involved? Thank you. I'll take my answer off the air.
Well, thank you very much for that very good question addressing education efforts. Jerry, I'll let you take that.
It's a great question because, I mean, someone as prominent as Nelson Mandela said, you know, the real way to get a more peaceful world is through education. It may, in fact, be the only way. So in Dayton, one of the things that's coming up I'm really excited about is the Peace Literacy Dayton Film Forum, which people can go online and Facebook, just go on Facebook, Peace Literacy Dayton Film Forum. And you'll see in the early days of October, the 2nd through the 5th, we're showing 2 important movies, award-winning films on immigration. They're called Locked in a Box and To Breathe. And so this is an effort of some community groups, including our own. We're bringing in the filmmaker. What we're trying to do is create a respectful dialogue around these important issues around immigration. We're all puzzled sometimes by what to do. Sometimes we get a little excited, and sometimes we're not as good at this.
Civility.
But, you know, what we want to do is engage people with civility and respect and listening and these basic words. Okay, another thing that folks can do, the caller and others, is go to the Dayton International Peace Museum to their regular programs. There's all kinds of great events. You can go online, Dayton International Peace Museum. Just Google it, you'll get there. Sinclair has been doing some wonderful things. A real fine peace educator in our area who has put together peace literacy curriculums and so forth, Dr. Kathy Rao and Dr. Derek Petrie. Both of them are doing some programs. So you can go to get the dates. I won't go through all the dates, but we have a wealth, and then there's Wilmington College, the Peace Resource Center there. We have a wealth of programs and events that are going on regularly in Dayton.
Good,
And
good.
I'm glad to hear about that peace work that this Rotarian's doing, ambassadorial.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Now, we were just embarking on a discussion about the groups that came to be part of the village and how they were organized, and how you, as one of the organizers along with the Rotary Club, were looking for organizations that fit within the theme of peace building and being in a village. So, because this is the first year, isn't it, that other organizations have had booths like this, isn't it?
It's the first year to create a village.
Okay, so how did that come about?
I was standing on the stage last year saying, I looked out and I said, this is a beautiful makeshift peace village. And when I said those words, I said, oh my goodness, that's what next year should be. We should be able to see what peace looks like. What does peace look like? And so that's where it sort of began. And so in my mind, because now if you just saw the slide maybe that they showed, this Peace Builder Village, it had a sign that said, Dayton, City of Peace celebrates the amazing Peace Builder Village. So Dayton, City of Peace. Okay, look, no city is perfect. There's a lot of things we need to work on right here in Dayton. But the idea was, what are these organizations that are doing these things that can help us become more a city of peace? So, for example, I mean, we're talking about the Dayton Literary Peace Prize. What a great organization, one of a kind, right here in Dayton, helping brilliant, powerful authors put the pen to peaceful engagement, and we do that every year. So I was really thrilled that Sharon Rabe and that group was there. Then you have somebody like Sinclair College who was there, and UD who was there. That's great. All the activities, the human rights work at UD. I was very pleased that Nonviolent Communication was there. Diane Diller, helping all of us learn how to communicate with less violence. We could all use that. K-12 Gallery was there. So we're creating Peace Through the Arts. And of course the opera, the Dayton Opera, and this opera coming up that we've talked about, the console on October 20th, which I hope everyone will attend. By the way, a little plug, it's normally like $70, $90 for the opera. We are able to offer a special for our peace folk, $20 to see that opera.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a good deal. So, so other organizations included this support group for folks that are struggling with fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome. So how do you create a support group for someone who's struggling just to get up in the morning? Teens Inventing Peaceful Solutions. What is peace literacy? So a little diversion, 30 seconds or less. Yeah. I worked on Hawaii Island for several years running the Crisis Mobile Outreach, where I went on hundreds of interventions with young people who were struggling to get through the next minute. And I noticed that peace literacy for that young person was learning how to breathe, learning how to calm down. Peace literacy is the art of living. And that's what these organizations are doing. They're teaching us how to live better. And so we were looking for organizations across the spectrum. And I could go on. There was several other ones, but that's kind of the idea, was a spectrum.
Do you anticipate having a village again in the future, repeating that concept, perhaps, or is that under evaluation?
No, I think without a doubt, next year we are going to, I hope, create a village that really gets to the spectrum. Look, Wright-Patterson's the biggest employer. We have so many people there who do so many things to keep our country safe, who are very smart, passionate peace builders. So we need to create a village that taps into all of who we are as human beings to make the world safer, more prosperous, more secure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, good luck with that. I'm sure you'll be successful, because events that have success breed success, and they come on again for us.
Exactly.
I noticed also yesterday that there were a lot of young people involved in the event. Would you speak to that a little bit? And it wasn't just families, parents bringing children. There were also lots of young people. The march was led by a group from a school. There were other groups of young people. There was a time at the mic, and I'll let you talk about it in detail, but young people were an integral part of the event yesterday. So I'd like to let you speak to that a little bit.
So I'm looking at this Peace Hero card. We have lots of cards that we share that feature the stories. And here's a picture of Mayor Nan Whaley, who showed up to our Peace Heroes camp last year. And I'm looking at pictures of young people who got a picture of themselves. It says Young Peace Hero Children's Peace Camp, which the Dayton International Peace Museum does each year. The reason I mention that is because we're working year-round, I think, in Dayton to help young people know that they don't have to wait until they're 22 years old or 96 years old. They can be a peace person now. They can build peace now. So how do we train them? So a lot of those young people are people that have been being nurtured in the Thurgood Marshall School was there. Amazing story, amazing example of a peace builder. There were lots of Sinclair students there. Last year we had lots of students from Williamson College. I saw parents bringing their kids. I saw one gal on dad's shoulders. I mean, it was really a family-friendly experience. But I think what children saw was, I carry around, and it's on a bumper sticker in my car too, it says, "Children need peace heroes." And I think if there's one thing that children need today, and why they came to the event last year for sure, was because children feel more safe when they know there's organizations and there's real people that are working to make their world more safe. So I think that's...
Thank you. I think that addresses that very well, and I'm sure they certainly felt that way at the event yesterday, and hopefully that will continue on. Was there any nominations of peacemakers yesterday, or that was the event from the year before, right?
We didn't do that this year, but what we did do was our speaker was Fred Arment. And anyone who's listening who knows Fred knows that he's really one of the outstanding leaders here. Fred has formed an organization called International Cities of Peace. I just was with Fred this week when he announced to people across the world, and his group now, International Cities of Peace, has been recognized by the UN. They're an observer status, homegrown here in Dayton. He announced his 169th city, and it was in China, the first International City of Peace in China, an 8 million population city. So it's exciting to be able to recognize people like Fred and have them guide a whole group of people and say, so what Fred did was he announced 20 different ways that we in Dayton are a city of peace. It was really exciting.
Yeah, that's really very, very great. Thank you very much for adding that. What kind of projects do you see coming forth out of the Peace Village that existed yesterday? How will it continue to exist, and what future networking do you see happening among these groups that physically came together yesterday?
Networking. I think that, first of all, Rotarians care deeply about the community. There were 10 Rotary clubs represented, and Rotarians noticed good things that are happening. So what I hoped happened yesterday was people are seeing, and coming to these discoveries, these ahas. Oh, they do this. We could collaborate in this way. We really need a lot more collaboration on the peace building front in Dayton, because our issues are really important, whether it be hunger or opioid. We have these big things that need to be worked at, and especially building communities so we start to all live better together. That's a hard thing to do. And so I came from Hawaii Island, where I lived for 5 years, and I came to Dayton, and it's been interesting living downtown and sort of learning many lessons. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if I go to the village and I meet somebody who may be different than me or doing a different kind of thing, it can be an aha moment. And the more we do that, the more we build a cohesive community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent. And do you think there will be any events in between, or it will be the continued networking? I'm sure that will go on, but are there events to reconnect the groups that were there as the year goes on, or do you expect this to take place at various different peace events that you've already mentioned to our viewers that are taking place?
Well, I'll say this carefully, because lots of people need to be stakeholders in this, but it is my feeling that the walk on Sunday was more or less the announcement. We're going to be Dayton City of Peace in new ways. We're going to do, between film forums, between music events, we're going to create a stronger sense of Dayton City of Peace, whatever that looks like. So I think, yes, we don't have enough planned yet, but we'll work on it.
All right, very, very good. Let's look a little bit toward next year, and or is it too early to say what the event may look like next year?
Well, I have, just like I did last year, a really strong idea about what I think might happen. I've talked to some people that seem very interested. I think next year we're going to more than double our numbers, but more importantly, we're going to add some components. I'd like to build a human chain from the walk site to the museum and do something with that. I won't say too much more about that.
Very symbolic.
I would very much like to see us in Dayton work with the chamber and people who are involved in economic drivers. There's a peace track to be had, a peace track, peace journey. People can come who visit Dayton and they can see all these different places that represent a diverse peacemaking opportunity. So you could have actually a tourist opportunity for people to come and take peace trails or something like that.
Yes,
so,
exactly. Uh-huh.
But so next year we'll I think we'll expand the village. We will certainly get a better sound system in terms of something that works for us and our needs. We've got lots of improvements we can make for next year.
I thought a very nice touch was to give the young people, the teens, the stage, to give them a chance to come up and take the mic and talk. And I thought that was very interesting. So I hope you continue. I hope that continues as a part of the event. You have many cards here in front of you, and it's not possible in our time to be able to get to show all of those. But I wanted you to pick a few that you wanted to perhaps highlight, and I also want you to explain how the viewers can see these on the web. Nearly all of these are on the websites available for viewing, right?
Just go to peaceheroeswalk.org and go to the gallery, and you can see almost 200 now peace heroes that we've been able to explore over the 3 years we've been doing these events. I think the most important thing I want to say about it is this statement maybe people have heard before: the world is not made up of atoms, the world is made up of stories. I'd say peace is made up of stories. And so these people like Mama Nozipo Glenn, I never say her name quite right, but she came here to Dayton in the mid-'70s from South Africa and has done so much to help build our community. Ralph and Chris Dull, who started the Peace Museum, have got K-12 Tejas Gallery. Last year for the walk, they created all these peace hero faces. Sally Dyer, who works at Westminster Presbyterian, is doing a lot of good things in the community. I have to mention Joseph Lehman. He is Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Lehman, and one of our peace heroes last year. And the other peace hero last year, this card, was the Moraine Police Department. So quite a range of peace heroes.
Right, right. Definitely a range of them all entirely. And these names were submitted by the individual.
Exactly. So next year, we're going to be inviting people in the community, like they did the first 2 years, to select a peace hero that they want to honor. And then they give us the information. We create a card for them. They have a team, and that team honors their peace hero. For me this year it was Ray Olfke. Ray Olfke, the late Ray Olfke. He was our arrangements chair this past year, and he passed away recently, but a peace hero, someone to honor.
Let's talk a little bit about the route that people took yesterday as they walked around through downtown and how you chose that route.
Okay. So one of the stops was the Peace Museum, and people got to go inside, get some water, and look around. That was great. I remember the first year, 435 people went through the Peace Museum. That was amazing. Okay, we often go up around that peace pole that's near the Dayton Art Institute, and some people sneak over to the Greek Festival. Who could blame them? Okay, went across over to the Richard Holbrooke Monument, a very important part of our history in Dayton, the Peace Accords, and then they swung back around and back to the main route to the Peace Builder Village. Last year, by the way, we went through K-12 Gallery so people could see the dozens of peace hero drawings that the young people did. So,
good.
Yeah.
So the route is planned to sort of be like a sort of a peace tour, encompassing as much as you can within the time that the group gets to walk that. That's wonderful. That'll be a good event to look forward to for next year, and to have all of that going on. I wouldn't want to get too close to the end of our program without giving you an opportunity to talk about some of the philosophies behind peace building. When Dave was here with us, he mentioned Chappelle, but I'd like to give you a chance to inform viewers that may not know that much about some of the leadership in peace building, either resources that you would point them to, or individuals, or basically the philosophy and how it's changed from maybe back in the 60s and 70s. It's evolved. It's come forward much more, and universities involved, and Rotaries sponsoring fellowships and things involved. So talk a little bit about that for us.
You'll have to give me your eyes when we're ready to stop, because this is my life. But, but the 21st century peace technology is so different from the Vietnam era. For one thing, we know so much about trauma, and the thing we know that we have dramatic increase in suicides, people who are hurting. So how do we respond to our concerns in a way that we understand people are hurting and they're in trauma and it's serious business? One of the ways we do is educate ourselves about trauma. Another thing with 21st century technology is these words. These words that we promote. We say waging peace one word at a time, 21st Century Peace Literacy Foundation, like civility, like respect. I have these signs, listening and empathy. So peace starts one word at a time, right? Because words lead to thoughts. You can't have thoughts if you don't have words, right? So word leads to thoughts. Thoughts lead to action, and action leads to change. So if I decide that civility is a good thing in the world, then I need to think about how I can be civil. I need to act civilly, and that changes the world. So young people, especially who are on these learning curves, teaching peace literacy is, I think, a fundamental thing we need to do. And I think lastly, with the advent of social media and so forth and so on, there's so many things we can learn sitting right at home. But what we can't learn is what it means to be with someone who's hurting, and physical touch and looking into their eyes and the power of being present. And so that's always the biggest challenge, is how do people get comfortable enough in their own skin to know peace really starts with me being able to breathe and feel okay with myself. And so it's a journey. But one more thing, and that is, I think the word peace is polarizing. I try to never use peace without peace literacy or some other peace building, because I think a lot of people roll their eyes because they, rightfully so, have a notion of somebody giving the peace sign and they're saying, yeah, but that wasn't so friendly to me back in the day or whatever. So I try to use new symbols. I try to use words that include other people. And that's, I think, if we could all watch our words and then live our words, we could see some change.
That's very wonderful. Thank you for bringing us up to date like that. We have spoken a lot tonight about what is unique in Dayton, and we're always proud here to do that, and we want to do that. But how are our efforts fitting into what you see across the country with peace building?
So I was privileged to spend 100 days earlier in the year doing sort of jazz and singing and performing up and down the West Coast, from San Diego to Seattle. Went to a lot of Rotary clubs, spoke to youth interact groups, went and spoke at conferences. I think that people appreciate the collaboration that's happening in Dayton, both the arts, which is really cool, and also some of the stuff that's happening in the world of peace building. So I think what we're doing in Dayton is significant because we're a community that has kind of a broad spectrum, so I've been interested to hear what other people are doing, and especially again in the area of trauma. I think that's our new frontier, more and more so, because it triggers us to do sometimes things that we wouldn't normally do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very good point, yeah. So, well, good. I'm glad that there's networking going on, but I'm glad that Dayton is remaining a leader in all of this, and we've got a lot of creativity thanks to people like you and those informing the Peace Museum, and that's very exciting. What are some of the key things at the Peace Museum that you would direct future visitors to look at if they, when they attend? If some of our viewers have not been and they make their way to Monument and to the building, what are some of the exhibits that you would like to highlight for them?
Well, you've got Teens Inventing Peaceful Solutions, which is an ongoing program. If you've got a young person that wants to really look hard at how you learn to be more of a peace builder, it's a great program. Highly recommended. There's a Peace Heroes Room. I love the Peace Heroes Room. It features Sister Dorothy Stang and her amazing story. It features Ted Studebaker, Malala. And so you go in there and you really begin to feel the energy of what it's like for people who live by these values of peace building. We have a children's room, really cool, lots of things for young people, children to do. It's very child friendly. There's a library chock full of resources. There's an immigration exhibit right now that's excellent, and combined with that are talking opportunities to listen and engage in conversation. And there's the Quilting the Golden Rule exhibit, which celebrates quilting the golden rule around the world.
All right. And the major place to go to for people to find out all of the activities as the calendar goes through the next year is peacebuilders.org. Is that it?
Yes, I think if they go to Peace Heroes or Peace Builders, either one, all roads lead to that.
The same website,
Yeah.
and that's going to be kind of the clearinghouse for all of the events that are coming up. So anytime people are checking their other weekend sources of activities, they should add that and be checking that one as well.
And the new pictures, the pictures that just came out, just appeared on Facebook on the Miami Valley Peace Builders Walk.
Okay.
Just Google it, Miami Valley Peace Builders Walk.
We don't have a lot of time left, but I would like to return to the pictures and let you say a little bit about what is happening in the pictures that we showed earlier. So let's show the pictures and let Jerry have a little bit of comment on them, please. Don't have a lot of time, but a little bit of comment. There, they've got it up. Can you see it?
I can see it right here.
You can see it right there. Okay.
Okay, so here we are. We're building the village, and we're putting together signs that express peace builders around the world and right here locally, and the organizations. So that's the village right there. And it's going to only grow bigger and bigger each year. Next slide. Rotary, the new symbol for peace. I guess that maybe is a little bit overstated. There's plenty of great symbols for peace, but I'm proud to be a Rotarian and to notice that symbol means a lot to a lot of people around the world. So, and there it is, right with the Dayton City of Peace Builder Village. Next slide.
Wonderful.
Oh man, this is so cool. This is the next peace genius right here. This is the guy, and he was just probably his family was here with this exhibit. But it's a reminder to us. It's a good way to close the show that best we can do is excite, teach a new generation what peace building looks like. That's our job.
Yes, it is. Are there other slides? Do we have another? I didn't want to leave anybody
Oh,
out.
good.
Okay.
This is great because this is Dave and Sherry with the opera, and I'm really excited. I'm not trying to so much pitch the opera per se as, although I'd be happy to do that, but we are so excited to be partnering with the Arts Alliance, and this Dayton Opera presentation on the 20th will help people to feel some power around the issues around people who are immigrants and their stories and so forth. You see in the background there's Sinclair, which was a big supporter of the walk this year. There's Charlie Sims, who's on my board. He's a great, not only home builder, he is a great peace builder. So lots to be excited about.
And then we
finally,
have purple shirts.
Oh, there's the purple shirts. I wish I could name them all. This is the Rotary Club of Dayton and some other Rotarians from other clubs, 10 clubs participating. And these are people that truly live the peace walk. They're an amazing collection of people, and I'm proud of every one of them. Mm-hmm. Go team.
Yes. Is there another? Okay, now we're back to that. We have a very few minutes left, so
Okay.
I just want to give you a chance for any closing remarks, something that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you, or something you really want the viewers to know.
I want them to know that programs just like yours that help people talk about it peacefully.
Yes.
Peace starts, I think, with our ability just to respect and listen to one another. And I'm glad people were listening to the show today, and I hope if they have any questions, they can email us. But it's great to be in Dayton, and it's great to be a peace builder in Dayton.
Well, we're happy to have you here, and obviously your work is meeting with much success and with much support. So keep up the good work, and thank you for coming to the program tonight. I'd also like to close by thanking the viewers for watching the program tonight and for calling in. If there was a question or a thought that you had, or if you got here a little bit too late to get a website written down or something, you can always contact the Ombudsman's office at 223-4613, and we'll be happy to give you any of the websites that you might have missed. But thank you very much. Appreciate the viewers tonight. Good night.